up, everybody? Welcome on in to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. Welcome into MRN HQ in Concord, North Carolina. Chris Wilner, MRN pit reporter, MRN announcer Kyle Rickey out in Connecticut. K-Rick, big weekend, man. We had a lot going on. ARCA literally didn't sleep, I don't think, this weekend. That drama in the Xfinity race there at Watkins Glen. We had a 15-year-old win an ARCA race. And oh yeah, there was some great racing and an even incredible crash at Bowman Gray this weekend. So we got a lot to talk about, plus news and notes, and of course, big weekend in racing with the Oxford 250. But Kyle, let me ask you how your weekend was. Obviously, we got to spend some time together, but you refreshed, ready for a new week?
Yeah, I think so. As we head to the Milwaukee Mile together here in just a couple of days.
I know, double dose
weekend.
of each other. Look at that.
I know, back-to-back weekends. Yeah, it was a busy weekend last weekend. For me, it started at the Thompson Speedway on Wednesday night for the NASCAR Wheel and Modify Tour. A lot to talk about there before making the drive up to Watkins Glen and a triple header weekend of racing on the Motor Racing Network, beginning with the ARCA Menard Series and a wild finish there with Mother Nature affecting the outcome of that race, along with darkness. Busy race weekend on Saturday and Sunday as well with Xfinity and Cup. So yeah, it was good weekend.
Well, let's dive into this weekend. You just mentioned you're out at Thompson, legendary racetrack, hosting the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour with the Thompson 150. Justin Bonsignore, 13th career win at that racetrack, Kyle. And now the points, 2 points is the difference between Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignore after that win. What'd you think of that race being there in person?
Yeah, it was a great race. Justin was kind of the dominant car most of the night. We kind of knew at some point he had to get back to victory lane at Thompson. It's been a few years, even though he's won there 13 times. It had been 3 years since he last visited victory lane at the Big T, but a dominant night, a competitive race, and now a really tight championship standings heading into the last third or so of the season among three former champions, all mixing it up with Ron Silk, Justin Bonsignore, Doug Coby, fourth in points, 47 back, young Austin Beers, who won the pole for the race at Thompson, right there in the middle of it all in third. Also, thoughts going out to two modified folks in the community, including Matt Hirschman, who was involved in a pretty big wreck on the back straightaway during that race, had successful surgery to a broken arm this past Monday. So we wish him a speedy recovery. And also Tommy Baldwin Jr., who announced just about 24 hours after that race that he is fighting cancer. His race operation will cease for now until he can get through it. And we look forward to seeing him back at the track soon.
Yes, prayers up to both of those guys. Tommy, a great man in the garage, of course, a successful racer, car owner, and Matt Hirschman, speedy recovery for them. Again, Justin Bonsignore, 38th career win, honoring the late John Blute as well, dropped the checkered flag in turn one, actually won on the day back in 2007 that we lost John out there at Thompson. So good stuff. Congratulations. Again, they're back in action here this weekend up, were they at Langley?
Yep. Langley Speedway down in Virginia.
That's right. All right, let's move on to the ARCA Menard Series. Double header this weekend. First up was Watkins Glen, where Kyle Rickey was on the call out there in turn 5, battling the wind, the mist, the cold. It was brutal. I visited you for maybe 20 minutes and said, I'm out of here. I don't need to deal with that. But it was Jesse Love, though, that fought back there at the end. Connor Zilic making his debut for Pinnacle Racing Group, had a broken sway bar, led the most laps of the race, but Jesse Love, Kyle, came in a hurry there at the end.
Yeah, and it came down to, wet weather tires or slick tires and the final 2 laps. And while they're making the decision, the sun is setting behind a very thick layer of clouds. So it was going to get darker sooner than what we were to expect if, with clear skies. So plus, you mentioned the rain, a lot happening. But yeah, Jesse Love on the wet weather tires came from third to first in the final couple laps to pick up the race win and made the final pass for the win in the final corner of the race on on the final lap in turn 7.
8th career win, or 8th series win this year, I should say. 4 in a row for Jesse Love as his championship lead continues to grow. Brent Crews, shout out. And we'll talk about him in a minute. And his debut finished 3rd, and although he would up that on Sunday. But Saturday night, we go ARCA West Racing, and Sean Hingorani dominates at Evergreen, Kyle, all but locking up, I think, the championship with them as they get late in their season. 4th win of the West Series for Sean Hingorani.
4th win, holding out or beating out Tyler Reif It was Tanner Reif with the big moment of the night, had something break in the right front corner of that car, made pretty hard contact with the outside wall just past the halfway mark. But other than that, fairly uneventful, clean race, which is what the ARCA Menards West Series needed. Cole Raz had a good run in the third spot, Landon Cohen in fourth. So great race there at Evergreen, one of the charter track for the ARCA Menards West Series seems to be on the schedule each and every year for the last several seasons.
Rounding out our national coverage, we mentioned Brent Crews got third in his debut with Venturini Motorsports of Watkins Glen. Well, he just went out and won in his second start on Sunday as the ARCA Menards Series traveled down to the Springfield Mile at the Illinois State Fairgrounds on the dirt, a place that Brent Crews knows pretty well is dirt racing, and he picked up his win. Second start, first career win, 15 years of age. Kyle, what more can you say about this youngster? We're going to talk to him. He's on the show here this week, but an impressive drive, but he had to battle his close friend Jesse Love there near the end.
Yeah, who ended up finishing in the third spot. And in fact, it was Brent that made the pass on Jesse for the race win there in the mid stages of the event. Andres Perez finished in the second spot. But what a weekend. 15 years of age, and you make your first two ARCA Menards Series starts ever. One on a road course in the rain to finish in the top three. And then you come back less than 48 hours later to win on the dirt. Pretty impressive opening weekend for this young driver who we'll meet here in just a few minutes.
No doubt about it. Shout out of the week, though, goes to Hayden Plyman winning the Idaho 208 at Meridian, a big race out there in the Pacific Northwest. And Landon Huffman finally got a Cars Tour late model stock win, a $30,000 payday, by the way, at Tri-County. Yep. Nelson Motorsports, one of the most popular late model stock drivers, of course, in our area down here in the Southeast. But Kyle, we've had him on the show. He says, I want to win a Cars Tour race. He finally got it done.
He did, and it was a good one to win, $30,000 in a race that was a battle to just survive. 17 of the 32 starters finished. 200 laps, took the better part of 2 hours. I think it was longer than the Cup race at Watkins Glen, but he was able to pick up the race win. And like you mentioned, the big check to go along with it, holding off Carson Quapple and Ronnie Bassett in the closing laps.
Good race. They're back in action this weekend. But if you don't know the name Brent Crews, you will on the flip side of this break. He is standing by as we talk to our most recent ARCA Menards Series winner. The 15-year-old Phenom joins us on the show next.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelen products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
Presented by Whelen Engineering. As promised, the legend himself at 15 years old picking up his first career ARCA Menards Series win at Springfield. That is Brent Crews. Brent, what's up, my friend? I've seen you drive a lot of things, but man, ARCA, 2 races in, you got to win. How good did that feel?
Honestly, it felt amazing. Going into the weekend, I was super confident going to Watkins Glen, and I think I was a little bit more confident going into Watkins Glen than I was the dirt race. I ran a lot of dirt growing up too, but I felt like I've just ran a lot of road course racing the past 2 years. So that felt like my more cup of forte. And it showed. I felt like we were really solid at Watkins Glen, just not enough pace to be able to win. And then it started to rain and do all that crazy stuff. So that changed everything. And then also running the dirt race and stuff that I grew up doing, I think honestly came in more to play than I would have thought and was able to capitalize on it.
Let's go back to Friday. How challenging is it when it starts to rain right at 6 o'clock at different portions of the racetrack? I know I was out in turn 5. Not only was it raining, but it was windy, it was cold, it was in the 50s, just weather conditions that we weren't really expecting for August at Watkins Glen. And then you mentioned it started to rain again with a couple laps to go, and that changed a lot of strategies for all the front runners. How challenging is that for a 15-year-old in his very first ARCA Menards Series national race?
Yeah, I think like you said, for their first race, I think it's super difficult because you're not used to what that car is going to do. You're already a little uncomfortable. Venturini Motorsports did a great job of being able to get me comfortable for the time we had in the ARCA car at Watkins Glen. Just as it started raining, though, never ran in the rain at that racetrack or in that race car. So didn't really know what it was going to do on a green and white checkered. So just trying to bring it home in one piece at the same time. Hopefully the leaders would have done something a little bit more spectacular, so we would have had a better shot going down the straightaway.
What was the preparation like before this weekend? Because obviously with 2 races in 3 days, it's hard to you kind of almost have to cram 2 prep sessions into one to prepare for the weekend. So preparing for Watkins Glen and then again preparing for the dirt. What was the weeks leading up to this weekend like for you?
Yeah, a lot of prep going on in the sim with Toyota Racing for Watkins Glen. For the dirt racing, you can't really do anything other than iRacing stuff, which they don't have Springfield up. So just pretty much videos on YouTube for Springfield, and then for Watkins Glen, we have our sim sessions that I was able to do with my friend Jesse Love, my teammate. That's pretty much all you can do when you're here, and then also some video prep, but just prep the best you can. And for Springfield, honestly, there's not much you can do at all. You can watch a couple videos, but the track's never going to be the same, and you're tough to run the same line. It rubber down though, so it's pretty similar this year as it was the last year.
How close was the sim session to what you experienced in real life at Watkins Glen?
Super similar. Toyota Racing has the best sim you can get, the best sim you can build, and then we have some super smart engineers over there, and then everybody at Venerini knows exactly what time you're going to run in real life compared to what you're going to run in the sim. So they base your tire model off of that. And then I feel like me and Jesse did a good job of helping that grip level and knowing what it'd be in real life, because Jesse ran it last year. So we had a really close basis. It's not always absolutely perfect, but we try to get it the closest as we can.
For those not familiar, I mean, you've come from a background that includes everything from karting championships to, of course, winning TA2 Trans Am races to midget races, late models, you name it, micros up at Millbridge where I get to watch you for the last couple of years. Does it feel like all this has happened fast? I mean, 15 years of age and you've got an ARCA win under your belt, and the opportunities are endless for you. So does it feel like this has all happened quickly or not really, I guess, from your vantage point?
I would say very quickly. I feel like last week I was running outlaw carts at Millbridge at 8 years old. So it's all going as fast as it can be. Obviously the faster I go and the more I grow up racing other stuff, I feel like it just becomes more fun as the ladder continues, for sure.
So what's life like for you outside of the racetrack, being 15 years old, schooling? What are you doing when you're not at Millbridge and Watkins Glen and Springfield and, all the racetracks this weekend?
Yeah, so I have a couple friends. Connor and Jesse are my 2 closest ones that you saw at Watkins Glen as well. They're both doing an amazing job. We play a lot of golf and we like to go on the boat. So those are our 2 little close things, and especially golf is the number one thing. We try to play a lot, at least 2 to 3 times a week. We go to Pinehurst with our friend Daniel Dye that you see on TV as well. So just trying to keep ourselves busy throughout the week as well as working out, and golf is probably my second sport.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned Connor and Jesse, and you get to race with them pretty close, especially at Watkins Glen, all 3 of you up front there at the end. What's it like to have that friendship and kind of be going through all these processes at the same time, especially you and Connor both making your debut at the same time Friday night? Jesse, I know he's had a big year this year, but to kind of have that core group of friends and you guys get to experience this journey together, that's got to be pretty special.
Super special. I grew up with Connor since I was in karting, so we've been racing everything together since I was like 6 years old, besides the dirt path stuff, which he's still getting into a little bit right now. So I've been with him almost every single week since we were little kids, and we still are. But I got to race Jesse too, so the whole friend group got to race against each other, and we just tried to tell ourselves before we went out there that we'd promise ourselves that we'd still be friends afterwards, no matter what happened. So it's a tough pill to swallow no matter what, but at the end of the day, we know we still have to be friends.
You passed Jesse to take the lead and ultimately the win at the Springfield Mile on Saturday. You said you had more confidence going into Watkins Glen, but claimed the win at Springfield. Why do you think that is?
Just being able to run so much road course stuff super recently and not as much dirt stuff. But the second I showed up and ran hot laps at Springfield, we were able to go quickest, and I was as comfortable as I could ever imagine. So the second I ran hot laps in practice, I knew we were going to be super solid, and my confidence was as high as it could be.
Away from the racetrack, obviously a lot of success in many different disciplines, but a big thing too is the support with KHI. I know that's a big, kind of support group that you have. So what's that been like, just having the support of Kevin and that program, in addition with the TRD stuff? I mean, do you feel like you have all the tools you need at this stage of your career to make that next jump?
For sure, I feel like I do, and obviously Kevin has had many success in all that he's done. He's successful at everything he does. So having the confidence of having him to be able to back me and go and ask him questions, even for the ARCA debut and whatever you need from him and from Toyota, there's endless supplies of stuff, and it's just whether you go ask them or not, I think is the only thing that could ever hold you back.
My final question for you, what's coming up for you in the next couple of weeks? When should we see you back in the ARCA Menard series after a successful weekend last week?
We got some stuff still coming along that you'll see in a couple weeks, I hope, for the ARCA stuff. I have some late model stuff for this weekend with Donnie Wilson Motorsports in Florida. So that'll be pretty cool. Friday and Saturday, I'm racing 5 Flags Friday and then Mobile Saturday. And then the next weekend, I'll have to check my schedule. I think I'm somewhere again.
Do you have a favorite, Brent, at this stage? I mean, you've run a lot of different things, but I mean, do you have something that you look forward to maybe more than the others, or is a race car, and as long as it goes fast, it's good with you?
Yeah, as long as it goes fast, it's good with me, especially the fast part. Being able to make your debut, though, is also, I mean, always a little bit more special, especially an ARCA debut, the biggest race car I've ever ran. So being able to make that debut is definitely a little more exciting than the stuff that you run every week. But at the same time, the stuff I run every week, I love. So it's always tough to be able to choose which one I like more, but I love them all. And if they're fast, then that's all I can ask for.
And finally, a lot of attention, obviously, on the pavement stuff, but we talked a little bit. I know we've seen you at Millbridge, and of course, you're a track champion last year. And are we going to see you one today? Or you want to come by today, maybe hang out, maybe tell Dad to throw the car together? And two, I know you've got the midget lined up for the BC39 with Chad Boat. How much more of that stuff do you want to do, I guess, if you can, in your busy schedule the rest of the year?
Yeah, so right now I think we're super focused on the stuff that we're running. I'm still going to run Millbridge stuff. For the 10 grand to win race, I'll come in and try to run a couple races before that to make sure our stuff's A1. And then as I feel like I advance up the ladder, I think it's tough to get those dirt races in, but any week that I'm free, I try. BC39 and Chili Bowl are probably the two of the biggest events, and then we have the California Swing that I'll be able to run as well. So I'll be able to do some more midget stuff at the end of the year.
Is it hard for you when you hop in between a dirt midget or a micro and then go get in an ARCA car or T2? Do you have to like tell yourself, okay, I'm in a pavement car, I got to get rid of this habit and do this, or does it just come second nature at this point?
Yeah, well, I feel like I don't really have to tell myself anything. It's just like, man, I have to drive this thing so hard when I get into a midget, and then try not to wreck at the same time. Whereas an ARCA car and a late model, you're trying to save your stuff to save it for the end. And then in a midget, you're just trying to go as fast as you can and running 30 qualifying laps and keeping it in one piece. So it's a totally different mindset for sure, even on the dirt side of things. So just every time I try to get in, I just try to drive it as hard as I can and go race up front.
Well, I appreciate your time, Brent. I know you got a busy schedule coming up, but again, so proud of you, man. Keep up the good work. Congratulations on the first of many wins in ARCA and to come as you go up the ladder. And we look forward to chatting with you after many more wins coming up.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Brent Crews. Again, big ARCA win at Springfield after making his debut with a third-place finish at Watkins Glen. Coming up next, we'll check the calendar and some news and notes in grassroots racing. That's all next on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Wheelan Engineering.
Wheelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelen products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Whelen Engineering. Kyle, we always talk about the future stars of the sport. We get to talk to plenty of them on the show. I don't think anybody is as touted as Brent Crews, and he's well on his way to becoming a star here in the next couple of years.
I feel like this is like the third or fourth week in a row. We have talked about our guests and how talented they are at all types of disciplines, whether it be dirt, road racing, and obviously now into the oval world of the ARCA Menard series. Brent Crews definitely has a future in this sport. I'm excited. Just in the last month or so, all of our guests that are, getting ready to go back to, high school, I feel like for the most of them, so much talent. Look forward to watching them climb the ladder of this sport the next few years. And more likely than not, we'll see them in NASCAR's National Series here in the next 4 to 5 years in the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup.
Yep, it's not if, it's when for a lot of our guests. So good for Brent Crews. Congratulations again. News and notes before we get into the calendar. Of course, you already mentioned it, Kyle. NASCAR's thoughts and our thoughts are with Tommy Baldwin Jr., who announced he's battling cancer. So I know the garage area at Watkins Glen and everyone certainly with their thoughts for Tommy. Of course, a legendary car owner and racer in his own right. And then how about that Bowman Gray race over the weekend, Kyle? The sports division had a wild wreck over the weekend where somehow, some way, a race car cleared the fence and found the water tire or concrete barrier behind the pit entrance, I think it was. Why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, going into turn number 3, Tommy Neal and Amber Lynn came together. Amber's final race as a full-time competitor at Bowman Gray. She said she was crowded and she wasn't lifting. Tommy came up on her. They hooked, and it sent Tommy into the through the opening in the turn 3 wall. There's an opening there that allows the cars to leave the racetrack to go to the pit area, which is behind the field house. When he went through that opening, thankfully he went straight and not directly into the pit area and clipped the concrete wall and the water barrels in front of the concrete wall to cushion the blow. Then Tommy went back onto the racetrack, tried to jump in a buggy, and I guess was going to go and try to confront Amber in the infield buggy, but fortunately he was pulled out of that before it got messy. His wife made it to the infield as well, so it was a interesting couple of moments there during the sportsman race.
Yeah, it's big when the wife comes down to come fight too. So
exactly.
We also didn't see any speedy dry being thrown like we did a couple weeks ago, but always entertaining out at Bowman Gray Speedway. If you live down here in the Southeast and you haven't been, please go in Winston-Salem. It is the best bang for your buck. All right, looking at our big calendar, things to note this week, Kyle, some big races, including a race we're going to be at coming up this weekend on Sunday, part of a doubleheader with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series playoff race number 2 of the opening round. It is the ARCA Menard Series, the Sprecher 150 at the Milwaukee Mile, and Grant Enfinger is going to drive too as well, making another appearance driving for Cody Robaugh.
Yeah, and I haven't seen an entry list yet as we record this, but I'm sure there will be several Truck Series drivers that want the opportunity for the extra track time. We haven't seen the trucks at the Milwaukee Mile in a number of years, and I'm so glad that both divisions are back at one of the most historic racetracks in the country, one of the oldest. I think it is the oldest oval that continues to host American motorsports here in this country. The ARCA Menard Series, a long staple of Milwaukee. Before the break, they came back last year, and I look forward to seeing them on Sunday afternoon as a lead-in to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. Both can be heard here on the Motor Racing Network.
That's right. It all begins Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can hear Kyle and I and the rest of the Motor Racing Network crew on the call. After the ARCA race, of course, don't forget the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is in action again with the checkeredflag.com 150 at Langley. The 4th series visit, just the 4th for the tour. And again, Kyle, 2 points separate Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignor. It's going to go down to the wire as we get down to the final third of the season.
It is, because it's going to be a busy stretch. There's a lot of races coming up, being at, going to North Wilkesboro for the first time. There's an event at Thompson, of course, a championship race at Martinsville, some other races sprinkled in there. I think they're going to Riverhead. Yeah, they are going to Riverhead again in a couple of weeks' time. So it's going to be a very busy next 6 or 7 weeks. I think the tour is going to run about every weekend, continuing this weekend at Langley. 4 drivers separated by 47 points, 3 of them former champions. And then the young phenom of Austin Beers, who has taken the tour kind of by storm this year with now multiple wins.
Yeah, Anthony Nacella, Max McLaughlin, Mad Max, who made his Xfinity debut at Watkins Glen, is back in the entry list, as well as Kyle Eversole and Tyler Repkema. So some stars that we typically don't see on a full-time basis going to join the field with the tour at Langley on Saturday. Now, the final big race coming up this weekend, it is the granddaddy of them all in the way, way, way northeast part of the United States up in Maine. It's the Oxford 250, the 50th annual running of that great race. 68 cars, Kyle, are entered for the PASS series. Of course, that is in conjunction with that group, with Max Cookson leading the points over DJ Shaw. Some very, very good racers, including 3-time winners Ben Rowe, or 2-time winner Ben Rowe. It won the kind of lead up to that race earlier this month, so he's going to be a favorite to go for 3 race wins. But also you've got Travis Benjamin, Mike Rowe, Cassius Clark, Johnny Clark, Bubba Pollard is entered. It's a big race, Kyle. We talk about the Oxford 250, a lot of build up for it. What do you think?
Yeah, all the races to set the field are just as entertaining as the main event. Just trying to make the starting lineup. I believe there's only 32 cars that are going to start. So roughly half of the teams that are entered are actually going to get to run the 250. Like you mentioned, an entry list that's pushing 70 right now. Some of the best drivers in the country, especially up here in the Northeast. You mentioned Ben Rowe. He's going to be one of the favorites come Sunday afternoon.
Looking forward to it. So big weekend of racing on the calendar. Of course, if you love weekly racing as well in your neck of the woods, Thunder Road Thursday. We got Sprint Car Smackdown at Kokomo if you like dirt sprint cars with the USAC National Tour Thursday through Saturday. Smart Mods at Ace Speedway coming up Friday, as well as Kyle's Stafford Speedway back in action Friday night. Berlin, Hickory, Cars Tour at Wake County on Saturday. Riverhead, and much, much more. And of course, don't forget the Motor Racing Network is your home for ARCA Menard Series and ARCA East at the Milwaukee Mile. Again, that is on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, and immediately following that, just a short time after, will be the Craftsman Truck Series round number 1 of the playoffs, race number 2 with the trucks at Milwaukee. Again, that airtime is 3:30 p.m. and MRN also on the air down Daytona. We're talking about the regular season finale for the Cup Series Saturday night. Of course, also the Xfinity Series on Friday night as well. So lots going on MRN, of course, Flow Racing, and all the NASCAR Roots action as well. Kyle, final thoughts before we close the show today.
Give a quick shout out to Brandon Ward. We talked about the sportsman race at Bowman Gray, but Brandon was able to pick up his first modified championship at the Bowman Gray Stadium after an incident with Junior Snow and Tim Brown in the closing laps of that race, another wild one. So congratulations to Brandon picking up that championship on Saturday night.
That's right. All right. Well, that does it for us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering, on the road, in the air, and around the world. Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. Our big thanks to Brent Crews. For Kyle Rick, our producer, Pat Jaggers, I'm Chris Wilner. Thanks for tuning in once again. Enjoy your weekend of racing. We'll hear you on the radio with MRN down at Milwaukee or Daytona. If not, enjoy your great grassroots racing weekend. Of course, we'll talk it all next week.